And like so many speakers before me, I too was once a humble scribe. I started my career in journalism in Toronto, and I worked for close to a decade as a financial journalist reporting on personal finance and medical and health issues. But I got bored with that after 10 years, and I wanted to make a switch, and I switched cities and I switched careers. And my first job in communications was as a consultant with Hill and Knowlton here in Vancouver. And I found the transition from journalism to PR a little challenging because as a journalist, it was always instilled in me that you only report the facts and you don't editorialize. And then I was put in a position where I had to make up quotes for people and develop positions for companies. And it took a little getting used to. But I must have done something right because within a year, my largest client offered me a job and essentially doubled my salary. And I became the director of communications for the Health Labor Relations Association, which back then in the early 1990s was the organization that did all the collective bargaining on behalf of the hospitals in BC. Now, timing has never been my strong suit because I joined them when they were on the cusp of two province-wide hospital strikes. One with the BC Nurses Union, the other one with the Hospital Employees Union. And I was their chief strategist and spokesperson. So I was the lucky guy that got to debate union leaders on live television and radio talk shows. I became very good at saying, well, that's not exactly true, and going to my key messages. And the unions hated it. My job was to hold the unions accountable and to advance the employer's position, and they really didn't take kindly to it. I came this close to being burned in effigy on the picket line, which was something I was striving for. But I did hear that the union made up some very colorful songs about me, and time really doesn't permit me to go into detail, but if you can think about what rhymes with Martin and use your imagination, I'm sure you can figure it out. But after being on the hot seat for 2 years, I left that organization. I went back into consulting. And I feel really fortunate to have started my career in public relations as a consultant. And when anybody asks me career advice, I always say the best thing that you can do for yourself early in your career or mid-career is get a couple of years of agency experience under your belt. Because as a consultant, you get exposure to a wide range of industries, situations, and management styles, and you can use that as a stepping stone in your career to go into various industries and various positions. And just to give you just one example, about midway in my career, I was Vice President of National Public Relations, and I was responsible for financial communications and investor relations, just building on my background as a financial journalist. And we also did a lot of work in forestry, we did a lot of work for associations, and we did a lot of pharmaceutical PR. And when it came time to make a career change, I started looking around. It was at the height of the tech boom, and like all bright people, I wanted to go into technology. And I borrowed from my experience doing PR for pharmaceutical companies and my financial communications background, and I landed a job as Director of Investor Relations for a biotech firm here in Vancouver. And one of the best things I did when I was working in IR is I got involved in our industry association, the Canadian Investor Relations Institute, which is the kind of IR equivalent to IABC. And I am a big proponent of volunteering. I was 5 years on their board. I started on a committee, I became a board member, and I was 2 years as their chapter president. And I made invaluable contacts when I was involved with CIRI, and it really set me up nicely for my next big career move, which was vice president of Canada's largest community foundation, because I think a lot of CEOs look for individuals that do have board experience. They want somebody with knowledge of corporate governance. They want to know that you can manage a team and you can run a meeting. And I think that put me in very good stead to be hired in that position. And I was extremely blessed when I was with the foundation that I got the opportunity to work with some of the brightest, most dedicated communicators I have ever worked with. And we did some phenomenal things there. which culminated in the foundation raising $50 million in donations last year. Now, I was hired there on contract, on a 1-year contract, because the CEO was going to be retiring in 7 months and a new CEO was coming in. And I've done a lot of CEO transition, and the best way I can describe it is a new CEO coming into a company is somewhat like a dog with a fire hydrant. You know, they have to leave their mark. And you know that they're going to reorganize this or change this or bring in their new management team. And I've seen this a dozen times before. So I wasn't particularly surprised 2 weeks before Christmas when the CEO came into my office and told me that they weren't going to renew my contract. And I was fine with it. You know, I was on the fence as to whether I was going to stay anyway. But what really surprised me is his next statement. He said, "And I'm giving notice to all your staff today." And they went so far as to call people who are on their Christmas holidays and tell them that they didn't have a job. And I guess that's kind of how the landscape unfolds in marketing communications sometimes, and it's something we all have to get used to. I think it's somewhat of a sad commentary on our profession that when there is a recession or there are cutbacks to be made, the first department on the chopping block is communications. And it really reaffirmed my belief that no matter how well things are going, no matter how good a job you're doing, you should never be totally comfortable in your position that you have, because you never know what's around the corner. And you should always have a plan B in your back pocket, because I know I did. Thank you.